Taiho's apartment was small. Just 2 rooms and a kitchen on the 15th floor of an old building. The walls were thin, and he could hear his neighbors talking, laughing, living their lives. He did not mind. The noise reminded him that he was not alone. He sat by the window, watching the rain fall on the city below. A cup of tea cooled in his hands. He had not drunk any of it. He had not done much of anything since he came home. Yuna had told him to take time off. The government had agreed. No one blamed him for walking away. If anything, he had become a hero. People stopped him on the street to shake his hand. They thanked him for standing up for humanity. But Taiho did not feel like a hero. He felt tired. He felt empty. He kept thinking about the faces of the Velen people. Not Princess Lyra, but the others. The nobles who had looked uncomfortable during her speech. The servants who had looked away in shame. The emperor, whose eyes had been so full of pain. They were not all bad. Most of them were just people, trying to live their lives, hoping for a better tomorrow. And now they were dying because of the actions of one foolish girl. Was it fair to punish all of them for her mistakes? A knock came at the door. Taiho frowned. He was not expecting anyone. Yuna always called before visiting. His family lived too far away to drop by. He walked to the door and opened it. Princess Lyra stood in the hallway. She looked different than before. Her beautiful dress was gone, replaced by simple human clothes that were too big for her. Her hair was wet and messy from the rain. Her eyes were red, like she had been crying. She looked like a lost child. "Ambassador Taiho," she said. Her voice was small. "May I come in?" Taiho did not move. "Why are you here?" "To apologize." She looked down at her feet. "I know you do not want to see me. I know I do not deserve your time. But please give me just a few minutes. Then I will leave and never bother you again." Taiho studied her for a long moment. The fire in her eyes was gone. The arrogance that had surrounded her like armor had cracked and fallen away. What remained was just a young girl who had made a terrible mistake and was only now beginning to understand how terrible it was. He stepped aside. "Come in." Lyra walked into the apartment. She looked around at the small space, the simple furniture, the old books on the shelves. If she was surprised by how humble it was, she did not show it. Taiho closed the door. "Sit down." Lyra sat on the small couch. Taiho sat in the chair across from her. The rain continued to fall outside, tapping against the window like gentle fingers. "I practiced what I was going to say," Lyra began. "I practiced it 100 times on the ship. I had perfect words, beautiful words." She laughed quietly, but there was no humor in it. "But now that I am here, I have forgotten all of them." Taiho said nothing. He waited. "I was wrong." Lyra's voice cracked. "I was so wrong. About everything. About humans, about you, about what matters in life." She looked up at him. Tears were falling down her cheeks. "I thought that power meant hurting others. I thought that strength meant making people afraid. But I was a fool." She wiped her eyes with her sleeve. "On the way here, Director Minji told me how many people have died since you left. Almost 5,000. 5,000 people. Fathers and mothers. Sons and daughters. They had names and dreams and people who loved them. And they died because of me." Her voice broke completely. She covered her face with her hands and sobbed. Taiho watched her cry. He had seen many people cry in his career. Politicians who had lost elections. Soldiers who had lost wars. Refugees who had lost everything. But this was different. This was someone crying, not because she had lost something, but because she had finally understood what she had destroyed. After a long moment, Taiho spoke. "When I was young, my grandfather told me a story. He said that long ago, humans were the weakest creatures on Earth. We had no claws, no fangs, no armor. Animals that were stronger than us wanted to kill us. The weather wanted to kill us. Even other humans wanted to kill us. Lyra looked up, her eyes red and wet. But we survived, Taiho continued. We survived because we learned something that no other creature knew. We learned that together, we were strong. One human could not kill a tiger, but 100 humans could. One human could not build a shelter, but 1,000 humans could build a city. He leaned forward. That is the secret of humanity, Princess. We are not strong because we live long. We are not powerful because we are big or fast or smart. We are strong because we understand that we need each other. Every human life matters because every human life is part of something larger. Lyra listened, her tears still falling. When you called me an insect, you were right in a way. One human is small. One human life is short. But humans do not think of themselves as individuals. We think of ourselves as parts of a whole. When you insult one human, you insult all of us. When you hurt one human, you hurt all of us. He paused. And when you help one human, you help all of us. Lyra's breath caught in her throat. What? What are you saying? Taiho stood up and walked to the window. The rain was starting to slow. Patches of blue were appearing in the clouds. I have been sitting here for days, asking myself the same question over and over. Should I help the Velen people? After what you did, after what you said, do they deserve our help? He turned to face her, and the answer is yes. They do. Lyra's eyes widened. You mean, not because you apologized, not because you came here and cried, but because there are millions of innocent people on your world who have done nothing wrong. They did not insult me. They did not call me an insect. They are just people trying to survive, hoping that someone will save them. He walked back to his chair and sat down. I became a diplomat because I wanted to help people. All people, not just humans. If I let your citizens die because of what one princess said, then I am no better than you were. Lyra stared at him. But I treated you terribly. I humiliated you in front of everyone. How can you just forgive me? Taiho smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. I am not forgiving you, Princess. What you did was wrong, and you will carry that weight for the rest of your long life. Every night, when you close your eyes, you will remember the faces of the people who died because of your words. That is your punishment. Lyra nodded slowly. She understood. But I am choosing to help anyway, because that is what humans do. We do not seek revenge. We do not hold grudges. We move forward. We build. We heal. He paused. We are small, and our lives are short. We do not have time for hate. Lyra stood up. Her tears had stopped. There was something new in her eyes now. Not arrogance. Not pride. Something deeper. I want to learn, she said. I want to learn how to be like you. How to think about others before myself. How to lead with kindness instead of cruelty. That is a long journey, Taiho said. It will take more than 19 years. Then I will take as long as I need. She bowed her head. Will you teach me, Ambassador? Will you show me how to be worthy of my people? Taiho looked at her for a long moment. He saw the scared young girl behind the princess mask. He saw the potential for great good or great evil. He saw someone standing at a crossroads, asking for guidance. I will try, he said finally. But the real teacher will be time. You will make mistakes. You will fail. You will hurt people, even when you do not mean to. The question is whether you will learn from those failures or let them define you. Lyra raised her head. I will learn. I promise. Do not promise me. Promise your people. Promise the 5,000 who died. Taiho stood and offered his hand. And promise yourself. Lyra took his hand. Her grip was firm, now. Steady. The trembling girl who had entered his apartment was gone. In her place was someone new. Someone stronger. I promise, she said, outside. The rain had stopped completely. Sunlight broke through the clouds, painting the city in gold. It felt like a new beginning, because it was. Months later, the cure reached Vila. Millions of lives were saved. Princess Lyra stood beside Ambassador Taiho at the ceremony, not as a princess demanding respect, but as a student learning humility. And when she became empress many years later, she was known throughout the galaxy as the kindest ruler Vila had ever seen. She built schools and hospitals. She welcomed aliens from every world. She taught her children that all life was precious, no matter how short. And whenever someone asked her why she was so different from other Velan rulers, she would smile and say, "A human taught me that strength is not about how long you live. It is about how you choose to live." She never forgot Taiho. She never forgot the lesson he taught her on that rainy day in Seoul. Humans do not fight with words. They do not beg for respect. They simply leave. And in leaving, they show you exactly what you have lost. That is the human way, and it is far more powerful than any insult could ever be. The Velan ship landed on Earth on a gray morning in April. Rain fell from heavy clouds, turning the landing pad into a mirror of reflected lights. Princess Lyra stood at the window of her ship and looked out at the human world for the first time. It was so small, so simple. The buildings were not made of crystal or floating stone. They were made of concrete and glass, standing in neat rows like soldiers. The sky was not purple or gold. It was just gray, covered with clouds that blocked the sun. Lyra had never seen rain before. On Vila, water came from underground springs. The sky was always clear. But here, water fell from above like tears from a giant's eyes. "Your Highness," said her guard, a tall Velan soldier named Juro, "the humans are waiting for you." Lyra took a deep breath. She had spent the entire journey preparing for this moment. She had practiced her apology 100 times. She had read everything about human culture, human history, human psychology. She had learned that humans valued sincerity above all else. They could tell when someone was lying. They could sense fake emotions like predators sensing fear. She had to be real. She had to be honest. She had to mean every word. The problem was, she was not sure if she did. The ramp lowered. Lyra walked down into the rain. The water was cold on her skin. Within seconds, her beautiful dress was soaked. Her hair stuck to her face. She looked nothing like a princess. A group of humans waited for her at the edge of the landing pad. They held umbrellas over their heads, watching her with curious eyes. None of them moved to help her. Lyra kept walking. The rain ran down her face like tears. By the time she reached the humans, she was shivering. An old woman stepped forward. She had gray hair and kind eyes, but her face was serious. "Princess Lyra of Vela," she said. "I am Director Minji of Earth's Diplomatic Corps. Welcome to our planet." Lyra opened her mouth to speak, but the old woman continued. "Ambassador Taiho has refused to meet with you. He has requested that I handle all communications between Earth and the Velan Empire." Director Minji's eyes were steady. "Do you understand why?" Lyra swallowed. "Because I insulted him? No." The old woman shook her head. "Because you insulted his entire species. Every human who heard your speech felt that insult. Every human who will ever hear about it will feel that insult. You did not hurt one man. You hurt 8 billion people." Lyra felt like she had been slapped. She had known this, of course. She had read the reports. But hearing it spoken so plainly, so directly, was different. I came to apologize. Words are easy, Director Minji said. Humans have a saying, actions speak louder than words. Do you know what that means? It means what you do is more important than what you say. Correct. The old woman turned and began walking toward a waiting car. Tom, we have much to discuss. Lyra followed, still dripping with rain. Her guard tried to follow too, but a human soldier stepped in front of him. The princess goes alone, the soldier said. Juro's hand moved toward his weapon. I am sworn to protect her, and I am sworn to protect Earth. The human soldier did not move. He was shorter than Juro by a full head, but he did not seem afraid. Your princess insulted our ambassador. You are lucky we let her land at all. Do not push your luck. Lyra raised her hand. Juro, stay. I will be fine. The guard hesitated, then stepped back. Lyra got into the car with Director Minji. The car drove through the human city. Lyra watched through the window as they passed tall buildings, crowded streets, and millions of humans going about their daily lives. They walked in the rain without caring. They laughed and talked and argued. Children ran through puddles while their parents called after them. They looked so alive. How many people live in this city? Lyra asked. About 10 million, Director Minji replied. 10 million? In just one city? Seoul is not even our largest city. Tokyo has 14 million. Shanghai has 27 million. Lyra's mind struggled to understand. The entire population of Vela was only 2 billion, and that was spread across dozens of worlds. Earth had 8 billion people on just one planet. How do you fit so many people in such a small space? Director Minji smiled slightly. We learned to share. We learned to compromise. We learned to work together. Her smile faded. Those are lessons that come naturally when your life is short. When you only have a few decades to live, you cannot waste time on pride and ego. Lyra looked down at her hands. I did not think about that. No, you did not think at all. Director Minji's voice was not angry, just tired. You saw a man with gray hair and wrinkles, and you thought he was weak. You saw a species that lives for less than a century, and you thought we were meaningless. But you never stopped to consider what we might have accomplished in our short lives. The car stopped in front of a large building. Director Minji got out and waited for Lyra. Ambassador Taiho is 32 years old. In his short life, he has learned 7 languages, earned 3 advanced degrees, negotiated peace between the Taurian Empire and the Melkai Confederation, and saved more than 2 million lives through his diplomatic work. She looked at Lyra. What have you accomplished in your 19 years, princess? Lyra had no answer. They walked into the building. It was plain inside, with white walls and simple furniture. Nothing like the palaces of Vela, but there was something warm about it. Something comfortable. Director Minji led her to a small room with a table and 2 chairs. On the table was a screen showing a graph. This is the death rate on your homeworld, Director Minji said. When Ambassador Taiho first arrived, about 50 people were dying every day from the disease. Since he left, that number has increased to 120. Lyra felt sick. Why did it increase? Because hope died. Director Minji sat down. When the humans arrived, your people believed they would be saved. They had something to live for. When the humans left, that hope went with them. The disease feeds on despair. Without hope, your people are dying faster. Lyra sank into the other chair. Her legs would not hold her anymore. How many have died since I made my speech? Director Minji checked the screen. 4,782. The number hit Lyra like a physical blow. She thought of those faces, those families, those lives, all because of her words. What do you want me to do? Her voice was a whisper. I will do anything, please. Director Minji studied her for a long moment. Do you mean that? Yes, I swear it on my life. Then you must go to Ambassador Taiho yourself. Not as a princess. Not as a diplomat. As a person who has done wrong and wants to make it right. Director Minji leaned forward. You must look him in the eyes and tell him the truth. All of it. Why you said those things. How you feel about them now. What you have learned. Will he listen? I do not know. Taiho is a kind man, but he is also a proud man. You hurt him deeply. He may never forgive you. Director Minji stood up. But you must try. Because right now, you are the only one who can save your people. She walked to the door and opened it. His apartment is in the Gangnam district. The address is on this card. Go to him, apologize, and pray that he still has kindness left in his heart for your species. Lyra took the card with trembling hands. The address was written in human letters, which she had learned to read during the journey. Thank you, she said. Director Minji looked at her one last time. Do not thank me, princess. Thank me when your people stop dying. Thank me when you become the leader they deserve. She paused. If you become that leader, the choice is still yours. She left. Lyra sat alone in the small room, holding the card like it was the most precious thing in the universe, because it was the address of the man who held her people's lives in his hands. The man she had called an insect. The man who had every right to watch her world burn. She had to make him see that. She had changed. She had to make him believe. The question was, how? The human ship rose into the night sky and disappeared among the stars. Taiho watched through the window as the Velen homeworld grew smaller and smaller until it was just another dot of light in the darkness. Yuna sat beside him, her hands folded in her lap. She had not spoken since they left the palace. Neither had Taiho. The silence between them was comfortable, like an old blanket. Finally, Yuna broke it. Did we do the right thing? Taiho did not answer immediately. He kept his eyes on the stars. I do not know, he said at last. I know what I felt. I know what I chose. But I cannot say if it was right. She was horrible to you. She deserved to be. She is 19 years old. Taiho interrupted gently. She is a child playing at being powerful. She does not understand what she has done. Then Yuna's jaw tightened. She understood enough to humiliate you in front of everyone. She knew exactly what she was doing. Yes, she knew how to hurt. But she did not know the cost. Taiho turned to look at Yuna. His eyes were tired but kind. There is a difference between knowing how to use a weapon and understanding what it destroys. Yuna looked down. What happens now? We go home. We file our report. And we wait. Wait for what? For them to realize what they have lost. The ship jumped into hyperspace. The stars stretched into long lines of light, and then they were gone, replaced by the swirling colors of faster-than-light travel. Back on Vela, the palace was in chaos. Emperor Kale stood in his private chambers. His hands pressed against his desk, his head bowed. His oldest advisor, a white-haired man named Soren, stood beside him. The humans have sent a formal message, Soren said quietly. All negotiations are suspended. Ambassador Taiho has returned to Earth. The Emperor closed his eyes. What about the medicine? Gone. They took all samples with them. The formula, the research, everything. They have not shared it with anyone else in the galaxy. Only Earth has the cure. Can we get it from someone else? Soren shook his head. We have tried. The Taurians do not have it. The Melkai do not have it. The Syndicate does not have it. Humans developed this technology alone. It is theirs and theirs alone. The Emperor slammed his fist against the desk. The sound echoed through the room. My daughter has killed us. My own daughter. Your Majesty. Do you know how many people died today while my daughter was giving her little speech? 53. 53 of my people. And tomorrow, more will die. And the next day, even more. His voice cracked. And all because a 19-year-old child wanted to feel powerful. The door opened. Princess Lyra walked in, her chin held high. But there was something different about her now. Her confidence seemed thinner, like paper stretched too tight. Father, I want to explain. Explain? The Emperor turned to face her. His eyes were red. You want to explain why you just destroyed 5 years of diplomatic work? You want to explain why you insulted the only people who could save our dying citizens? Lyra's lips pressed together. They are just humans. They will come crawling back. They need this treaty. No, Lyra, they do not. The Emperor picked up a tablet from his desk and threw it at her feet. Read it. Read the economic reports. Read the trade analysis. Read the truth. Lyra picked up the tablet. Her eyes moved across the screen. Slowly, the color drained from her face. This cannot be right. It is right. Humans do not need our minerals. They found new sources in the outer systems. They do not need our technology. Their own technology has caught up to ours in the last 50 years. They do not need our trade routes. They have built their own. The Emperor's voice was cold. The only thing humans wanted from us was respect. And you could not even give them that. Lyra looked up. But the medicine. They came here to offer the medicine. They must want something for it. They wanted friendship, the Emperor said. They wanted to be treated as equals. They wanted to show the galaxy that humans were kind, generous, and good. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. And you showed the galaxy that we are none of those things. Lyra's hands started to shake. I did not know. Of course you did not know. You never know. You never think. You just speak and speak and speak, and you never consider what your words might do. The Emperor took a step toward her. Do you know what Ambassador Taiho told me before the ceremony? He said that he admired the Velen people. He said that he hoped our two species could become great friends. He said that humans had much to learn from us. Lyra said nothing. And do you know what you taught him instead? You taught him that we are cruel, that we are arrogant, that we look down on anyone who is different from us. The Emperor's voice dropped to a whisper. You taught him that we are not worthy of friendship. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. She tried to blink them away, but they fell anyway, rolling down her pale blue cheeks. I was just having fun. I did not think it was serious. Fun? The Emperor shook his head. People are dying, Lyra. Every day, more of our citizens fall sick. Every day, more families lose their loved ones. And you thought making fun of the one man who could help was fun? He turned away from her. Get out. Father, get out of my sight. I cannot look at you right now. Lyra stood frozen for a moment. Then she turned and ran from the room. The door closed behind her. Soren watched her go, then turned to the Emperor. What do we do now, Your Majesty? The Emperor sat down heavily in his chair. He looked old suddenly, older than his 500 years. We must send someone to Earth, someone who can apologize properly, someone who can beg for their forgiveness. Who would go? None of our diplomats have experience with humans. They are too unpredictable. The Emperor was silent for a long moment. Then he closed his eyes. Lyra will go. Soren's eyes widened. Your Majesty? Are you sure? She made this mess. She must clean it up. The Emperor opened his eyes. They were hard now, like diamonds. She wanted to prove that she was strong. Now she will learn what true strength is. It is not insulting those who are weaker than you. It is admitting when you are wrong. The princess has never admitted she was wrong in her entire life. Then it is time she learned. The emperor stood up. Prepare a ship. My daughter leaves for Earth tomorrow. Soren bowed and left the room. The emperor walked to his window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, far beyond the lights of his empire, was a small blue planet called Earth. And on that planet was a man named Taiho, who had every right to hate the Velen people. Please, the emperor whispered to the darkness. Please let him be as kind as he seemed. Please let him forgive us. But the stars did not answer. They never did. And across the galaxy, in his small apartment in Seoul, Taiho sat alone in the dark. He thought about purple eyes and cruel laughter. He thought about the disease killing innocent people. He thought about the cure locked away in human laboratories. He could save them. He wanted to save them. But how could he help people who hated him? Yuna had asked if they did the right thing. Taiho still did not know. But he knew one thing for certain. The next move belonged to the Velen. They could apologize, or they could let their people die. The choice was theirs. And humans? Humans could wait. They were very good at waiting. After all, they had learned patience the hard way, through millions of years of struggle and survival. A few more weeks meant nothing to them, but to the dying citizens of Vela, every day was a lifetime. That was the true cruelty of the situation. And Princess Lyra had created it all by herself. The welcoming ceremony was held in the Grand Hall of Stars. It was the largest room Taiho had ever seen. The ceiling was so high that clouds actually formed near the top. Thousands of tiny lights floated in the air like fireflies, casting soft golden light on everything below. Long tables filled the hall, covered with food and drinks from 100 different worlds. Velen nobles sat in their finest clothes, talking and laughing. Musicians played in the corners. Servants moved through the crowd like ghosts, silent and efficient. Taiho sat at the high table with the emperor and his family. It was a place of honor, and he knew it. But he also knew that Princess Lyra sat just 3 seats away, and she had not stopped staring at him since the ceremony began. "Ambassador," the emperor said, leaning close, "I must apologize for my daughter's behavior earlier. She is young and does not understand diplomacy." "There is no need to apologize, Your Majesty," Taiho replied. "Youth makes fools of us all. I am sure I said many stupid things when I was 19. The emperor laughed, but it was a worried laugh. "You are kind, but I know my daughter. She will not let this go. She sees your calm as a challenge." Taiho took a sip of his drink. It was sweet, like honey mixed with flowers. "Then I will try not to be calm. Can you do that?" Taiho thought about it. "No," he admitted. "Probably not." The emperor sighed. "Then I wish you luck, my friend. You will need it." The ceremony continued. Speeches were made. Toasts were raised. Taiho smiled and nodded and said all the right things. But inside he was tired. So very tired. Being a diplomat meant wearing a mask every day. It meant swallowing insults and smiling at people who hated you. It meant pretending that words did not hurt when they cut deeper than any knife. Taiho was good at it. He had been doing it for 10 years. But some days, the mask felt very heavy. Yuna sat at a lower table with the other assistants and aides. Taiho caught her eye once and she gave him a small nod. She was watching. She was always watching. If anything went wrong, she would be ready. The music stopped. The room grew quiet. Taiho looked up and saw Princess Lyra standing at her seat. She held a glass of wine in her hand, and her purple eyes were fixed on him. "I would like to make a toast," she announced. The emperor's face went white. "Lyra, please sit down." "No, father. I have something to say." She smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "We are here to welcome the human ambassador. So let us talk about humans. She began to walk around the table, her dress flowing behind her like water. Every eye in the room followed her. Humans are a young species, she said. Very young. They discovered fire only a few thousand years ago. While our ancestors were building empires that spanned galaxies, humans were still hitting each other with rocks. Some nobles laughed. Others looked nervous. Lyra continued. And yet, they come here with their little ships and their little medicines, and they expect us to treat them as equals. Is that not funny? She stopped right behind Taiho's chair. He did not turn around. He kept his eyes forward, his face still. Look at this man, Lyra said, placing her hand on his shoulder. Her touch was light but cold. He is 32 years old. In human years, that means he's already past the middle of his life. In 30 more years, he will be dead. His bones will be dust. His name will be forgotten. She leaned down, her lips close to his ear. And in 30 years, I will still be young. I will still be beautiful. And I will not even remember his face. The room was silent. No one moved. No one breathed. Taiho felt the anger rising inside him. It was like fire in his chest, burning and bright. But he pushed it down. He locked it away. He kept his face calm. Your Highness, he said quietly, is there a point to this speech? Lyra laughed. She walked back to her seat and raised her glass high. My point is this. Humans are insects. They are born. They buzz around for a few moments, and then they die. We should not make treaties with insects. We should step on them. She looked directly at Taiho. One proposed a new toast. To the short, meaningless life of humanity. A few nobles raised their glasses, laughing nervously. Most did not. The Emperor looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. The Empress had her eyes closed, her hand pressed to her forehead. Taiho stood up. The movement was slow and deliberate. He pushed back his chair. He straightened his uniform. He looked at Princess Lyra for a long, long moment. The fire inside him was burning hotter now. He could feel it pushing against the walls he had built. All he had to do was open his mouth. He could destroy her with words. He could list every failure of the Velen Empire, every mistake, every weakness. He could tell her about the disease killing her people, the cure they desperately needed, the gift that only humans could give. But he did not, because Taiho understood something that Princess Lyra did not. Words were weak. Words could be ignored. Words could be twisted and forgotten. But silence was powerful. Silence could not be argued with. Silence made people think. Silence made people afraid. So Taiho said nothing. He turned to the Emperor and bowed. It was a deep bow this time, the bow of farewell. Then he turned and walked toward the door. The room exploded in whispers. Nobles looked at each other in shock. The Emperor stood up, his hand reaching out. Ambassador! Please wait. But Taiho did not wait. He walked with steady steps, his back straight, his head high. Yuna rose from her table and fell into step behind him. Her face was pale but determined. Princess Lyra's smile faded. She had expected anger. She had expected shouting. She had expected the human to fight back so she could defeat him. She had not expected this. Where are you going? She called out. Her voice was not so confident now. Are you running away? Are humans really such cowards? Taiho stopped at the door. He did not turn around. Your Highness, he said, his voice calm and clear. I am not running away. I am simply leaving. There is a difference. What difference? A coward runs because he is afraid. I am leaving because I choose to. He paused. Your words cannot hurt me, but I do not have to stand here and listen to them either. It pushed open the door. If I walk out this door, he said quietly, I will not come back. The treaty will die. The medicine will never reach your people. Is that what you want, Princess? Lyra's face went red. You would not dare. You need this treaty as much as we do. Taiho finally turned around. His face was still calm, but his eyes were different now. There was something in them that made Lyra take a step back. Something cold. Something ancient. Something human. No, he said. We do not. Humans have survived for thousands of years without your help. We built our civilization from nothing. We crawled out of the mud and reached for the stars. We do not need you. He smiled. It was the saddest smile Lyra had ever seen. But you need us. Your people are dying. Your doctors have failed. Your scientists have failed. And the only ones who can save you are the insects you just insulted. He turned back to the door. Think about that, Your Highness. Think about it carefully. And then he walked out. The door closed behind him with a soft click. The sound echoed through the silent hall like thunder. Princess Lyra stood frozen, her glass still raised, her toast still unfinished. For the first time in her young life, she did not know what to say. And somewhere deep inside her, in a place she did not like to visit, she felt something she had never felt before. Fear. The ship came out of hyperspace with a soft hum. Through the large window, Taiho could see the Velen homeworld for the first time. It was a beautiful planet with purple oceans and white clouds. 3 moons hung in the sky like pearls on dark cloth. Taiho stood with his hands behind his back. He was 32 years old, tall for a human, with short black hair and calm eyes. He wore the simple dark uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. No medals, no fancy decorations, just clean lines and quiet dignity. Ambassador, we will land in 20 minutes, said Yuna from behind him. Taiho nodded without turning around. Yuna was his assistant, a young woman of 25 with sharp eyes and a sharp mind. She had been with him for 3 years now. She knew when to speak and when to stay silent. That was a rare gift. What do we know about the princess? Taiho asked. Yuna checked her tablet. Princess Lyra, 19 years old. 3rd daughter of Emperor Kale. She is known for her beauty and her temper. The Velen people love her because she speaks her mind. But the diplomatic reports say she is difficult. Difficult how? She does not like other species. She believes the Velen are superior to everyone else. Last year, she called the Taurian ambassador a walking fish to his face. Taiho finally turned around. There was no anger on his face, just a small, tired smile. And what happened to the Taurian ambassador? He shouted at her, made a big scene. The emperor had to apologize, but Princess Lyra became even more popular with her people. They said she was brave. I see, Taiho said quietly. She learns that bad behavior brings rewards. A dangerous lesson for someone so young. The ship began its descent. Taiho watched the purple oceans grow larger. He thought about Earth, so far away now. He thought about his mother's small house in Bizen, the smell of the sea, the sound of rain on the roof. He missed home. But duty came first. It always did. The Velen Empire was old. Very old. They had traveled the stars when humans were still living in caves. They had built great cities and conquered many worlds. But now their empire was sick. A strange disease was spreading through their population. Their doctors could not stop it. Their scientists could not understand it. Earth had the cure. Human medical technology had grown very fast in the last 100 years. Humans lived short lives compared to most alien species. The Velen lived for 500 years. Humans lived for less than 100. But that short life had made humans work harder, think faster, and solve problems that other species ignored. The cure for the Velen disease was simple for human doctors. They had developed it in just 3 years. Now, Earth wanted to share it, but they wanted something in return. Trade routes, technology, respect. That was why Taiho was here. The ship landed on a platform of white stone. Taiho could see a large crowd waiting for them. Valen soldiers in silver armor stood in perfect lines. Musicians played strange instruments that made sounds like singing wind. And at the center of it all stood the royal family. Emperor Kale was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and silver hair that fell to his shoulders. His eyes were kind but tired. He carried the weight of his dying people on his back. Beside him stood his wife, Empress Myra, beautiful and silent like a statue of ice. And there was Princess Lyra. Taiho saw her immediately. She was smaller than he expected, with the same pale blue skin as her father, but darker hair, almost black. Her eyes were large and purple, like the oceans of her world. She wore a white dress covered in tiny crystals that caught the light. She was beautiful, but her face held no welcome. Her lips were pressed together in a thin line. Her eyes looked at the human ship like it was something dirty. Taiho walked down the ramp with Yuna 2 steps behind him. The Velen music stopped. The crowd grew silent. Taiho could feel thousands of eyes watching him. He stopped before the Emperor and bowed. It was a proper bow, not too deep, not too shallow. The bow of one leader greeting another. Emperor Kale, Taiho said, I bring greetings from Earth and all her people. We are honored to visit your beautiful world. The Emperor smiled. It was a real smile, warm and genuine. Ambassador Taiho, welcome to Vila. We have waited a long time for this day. Please, let us go inside. There is much to discuss. Taiho nodded and began to walk forward. But then Princess Lyra stepped into his path. She was shorter than him by a full head. She had to look up to meet his eyes. But she did not seem small. Her presence was like fire, hot and dangerous. So, she said loudly, making sure everyone could hear, this is the famous human ambassador. I expected someone more impressive. The crowd murmured. The Emperor's face went pale. Empress Myra closed her eyes like she was in pain. Taiho looked down at the princess. His face showed nothing. No anger, no surprise. Just calm, endless patience. I am sorry to disappoint you, Your Highness, he said quietly. I am just a simple man from a simple world. Lyra laughed. It was not a kind laugh. Simple? Yes, I think that is the right word for humans. Simple, short-lived, forgettable. She turned to the crowd and spread her arms. Look at him. This is the species that wants to be our equal. They live for less than a century. By the time I finish my morning tea, 3 generations of his family will be born and die. Some people in the crowd laughed. Others looked uncomfortable. The Emperor took a step forward, his hand raised. Lyra, enough. But the princess was not finished. She turned back to Taiho, her purple eyes bright with cruel joy. Tell me, human, does it hurt to know that your entire existence is just a blink of an eye to us? That everything you build, everything you love, everything you are will be dust before I even grow old? The silence that followed was heavy. Yuna's hands were shaking at her sides. Her face was red with anger. But she stayed quiet because Taiho had taught her to stay quiet. Taiho looked at the princess for a long moment. Then he looked at the Emperor, then at the Empress, then at the crowd of Velen nobles watching with wide eyes. Your Highness, he said softly, you are very young. One day, you will understand that the length of a life does not measure its worth. Then he smiled. It was a strange smile, sad and knowing. But that is a lesson you must learn yourself. I cannot teach it to you. He bowed again to the Emperor. Shall we proceed, Your Majesty? The Emperor nodded quickly, grateful for the chance to move on. He led the way into the palace, and Taiho followed. But as he walked, Taiho felt the princess's eyes burning into his back. She was not finished with him. He knew that. This was just the beginning, and somewhere deep in his heart, in the place where he kept his anger locked away, Taiho wondered how much more he could take before the lock broke.